Hey, 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 what can I say? It's your boy AG the Dad, and this Shit Talking Sundays with Shit Talking with Sensible Chery. So today, I know we're a little late. We had a couple things that we had to take care of today, but better late than never, right? If you were able to tune in and watch us, I want to say good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where on this circular piece of rock, soil, air, and all that other good stuff that come along with it that you reside on. But anyway, with that being said, let's get right into it. I want to introduce you to the one, the only Sensible Chery, because we got some breaking news.
Hello.
What's going down?
Well, we thought we were going to have some really exciting news to talk about this week, but apparently we're going to have to wait a few more weeks. But I was on the Dr. Phil show last week.
Woo, woo.
So I have an official gag order until it airs, which is fine, but I can talk a little bit about the experience of going onto the show, which was very interesting. They had reached out to me just regarding the Menstrual Dignity Act petition that I had done. And so there was discussions about flying me down there. It originally started out as a Friday. It was a Saturday through Tuesday kind of thing. It ended up only being one night. They didn't have to do a field shoot with me, so that shrunk it down. And then some other things. So it was just a one night, but it was all through email and interviews. I had to do multiple interviews over the phone with them, talk to a few people. And then they made the arrangements for me to go down there. So I flew down, and there was an Uber that picked me up, no limo. I'm not significant enough yet to have a limo pick me up at the airport. But there was an Uber that came and picked me up and brought me to my hotel room. And it was really interesting because at that point, I still had not met with anybody from the show. I'd been dealing with producers and then the person that was handling my travel. And so I got to the hotel, which I got there early in the morning and I wasn't supposed to get into my room until 3, but I was there just before lunch. So it was just this waiting game. But I had lunch and then I was able to get into my room. So I immediately took a nap away from the family. It was just like time for a break. But the interesting thing, I remember sitting in there because I still hadn't talked to anybody outside of text messaging, was, this is just odd. I don't even know that these people truly are affiliated with the Dr. Phil show. And I was telling this to my husband, and he said the same thing. And he's like, you know something, honey? He's like, I think he's like, I thought about that too, but it's a whole lot of work to try to kidnap a 50-year-old woman.
You know? Hey, hey, man. You know what? You never know.
Right.
Maybe somebody's trying to quiet you. So they're like, we'll just bring her down to LA. We'll put her in a
Right.
hotel room, and then we can stop this madness.
Right.
But
We'll shut
it's
her
not
up.
madness. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
But it was an early morning the next day. They picked me up again in a van onto the studio. I had to sign a contract. Um, they pretty much do everything up until taking your future children in regards to the contract you sign. I know one of the interesting tidbits was that they have rights to everything that they record and whatnot, and they actually used the verbiage of universe. So they have rights until it goes out to the universe. So they're forward thinking. And then, yeah, you can expect that you are recorded when you are on the set. And so it was an interesting experience. I truly did enjoy it. I'm looking forward to when I find out when it will air. I was told that um, they'll have an air date within 2 weeks. And so originally it should have been within 30 days from the time that it airs, or sorry, 30 days from the time that it records, it'll air. So hopefully I'll be able to talk more then, but the experience itself was very interesting. It was definitely a very cool experience.
Yeah, I heard that the Dr. Phil show is a very professional
Yes.
group of people. So hats off to you guys. You guys, first class people. Other than the fact you put my girl in a Uber, you should give her a limo. This is shit talkings with Sensible Chery. But
Uh,
we didn't know about that. And but it's all good. Dr. Phil, if you ever invite me out, um, I'm gonna need the stretch limo, preferably I like the Chrysler 300, so I'll take a Chrysler 300. Probably 10, 12 passenger. I know it'll probably just be me and maybe one other person, but I just like all that stretch room. So just letting you know, Dr. Phil. Um, Man, I want to talk so much shit about everything that's going on, but I don't know what's going on, so I can't talk no shit because I'm not under a gag order. So anything that I say, I would just be assuming that's what they covered. So rather than even tell you guys a bunch of lies about what went down, just please be patient. We will give you the air date, and because we definitely want everybody to tune in to Dr. Phil because his show is definitely informative, and this particular episode is definitely going to be informative for just people in general. Um, well, with that being said, I guess we should talk about some things that we can talk about that have nothing to do with the show. Because this is the Shit Talking Sunday show. We gave we gave you 10 minutes of promo on my show, man. I think I'm gonna need some get back. Just give me an honorable mention, you know. So so you were telling me when we were chatting over the weekend about some of the new things that are going on with the school fund.
Yeah, so I saw an article come out regarding the Oregon's Community School Fund. And apparently, we have tapped into that $13 million to clean up neglected boats in the state. So, for some reason, where our education still is failing in many areas, it makes a whole lot of sense in Oregon to utilize school funding for cleaning up boats. It's just another one of those things when it comes to the money that we spend that's supposed to be spent towards education, which it's something I want to look into a lot further. is to see exactly where all of these carve outs are. That's a term that I just recently was made aware of regarding, funding that is taken out before the schools are distributed. So we have 197 197 school districts across the state that receive state school funds. And so the money that is put in that pool of money is distributed across those districts. However, before that, there are funds that are taken off the top that are set aside for other things. One of which, the one that I've been talking a lot about is the menstrual dignity bill. The money for that comes out before schools get their money. The same with the free lunches. And I think we've touched on this before, that it's very interesting to me, and I'm going to keep mentioning this. Why are we using education dollars to fund things that are not directly related to education? So, like the Menstrual Dignity Act, why can't feminine hygiene products, regardless of who they are for, come out of the same pool of money that funds the Oregon Health Plan? Why can't the free lunches that go to our students come out of the same funds that fund the EBT and food assistance programs in the state, as opposed to education dollars? So that's definitely something I'm going to start looking into more. And there's even I forgot what it's called, but there's a model for what the expectation is of how much it costs for each student. And I don't even think that we are actually doing that. We've got a lot of funds coming into our state, more than we have ever had, especially with the cat tax. And where is this money going when it comes to educating our children when they're still very low on state scores and graduation?
It's crazy because you would think that just like when the lottery came into play, it was supposed to boost the amount of financing that was going to our children, but it seemed like they just started cutting what they allotted and depended on the lottery to um, educate our children. And the problem with that is a lot of it gets absorbed from bureaucracy
Mhm.
BS. And, you know, with all these programs that are supposed to enhance our school systems across the board in the United States, you would think that we would have outstanding scores because there would be so many things for children to do in school, all kinds of programs with all this surplus money that we're supposed to be having. But it doesn't seem like any of that's going that direction. Back when we were growing up, we had trade classes, so that if you weren't in the mind frame of I want to go to college, at least when you graduated high school, you knew some type of trade that at least you had some interest in, that you could try to make a living with. And it just seems like they just cut those, and then they started cutting YMCA's, and they started cutting just places for kids to do things. And then they think, oh, well, why is crime going up with children? It's because you've given them nothing to do and expect even the poorest of poor to be able to afford all these electronics that do entertain our children. So we need to bring back, outdoor activities for children, things to do. I mean, even the older kids between 18 and 21, you can't go to the club, so you have no entertainment. And if you're over 18 and you want to hang out with some of your high school friends that are juniors and seniors, maybe even sophomores, because when you were a senior, they were freshmen, you can't even really hang out with them the same way, because if you fall into puppy love, you could go to jail. because they're underage technically, and so you're a catch 22. But now you can't go to the cruise, you can't, there's no park and rec activities, so they expect to put out a fire with blowing air.
Right, right. You know, and that's one of the there's so I think one of the biggest things that we're still dealing with, it's the whole PERS crisis that we're in from retirement. And so all the funds that we're supposed to be getting that are supposed to be going towards education is actually still paying for the hole that we are in from these retirement programs from years ago. And so if we could get out of that, which I think we're still, I don't know, like 15 years away from being out of the debt of that. And so, you know, all this money that should be going to our children truly isn't going to them, which is all the more reason that we should be paying attention to where we are putting the funds that we do have. Since so much of it is being eaten up by PERS and other things, we need to make sure that stuff that we are putting into our schools is truly going to help them. Interscholastic activities was the term that I had recently looked into regarding it's all the things that you're talking about, you know, like the sports and the arts and just all the other things that aren't your core curriculum. And those activities have gone by the wayside. You know, we just had gotten music into our elementary school. They used to do things like home ec and, you know, all these things that we had when we were younger that have totally been chiseled away. And now our kids aren't even exposed to things that could keep them from getting out of trouble as they get older. You know, they talk about the fate of children being determined pretty much by the time they're in middle school as to where they're going to be in life. And so if they, and you know, you think about all of the things that we expose them to or don't expose them to, if we're not giving them opportunities to be exposed towards something that they may be passionate about, something that they may enjoy, some kind of field that they may be able to get into at a younger age, how will they know? Because
Right.
once you get lost, you know, if you, people that are musicians, my son has a buddy who was playing the drums for 8 years. He's 10, you know, and he's, you know, but it was something that his family had gotten him into. And that's the other side of this is, you know, a lot of families aren't necessarily in a position to be able to provide these things for their children. They're very expensive. So why can't we incorporate these things into school that would be beneficial for these kids and expose them to things that they might have an interest in?
Absolutely.
Even the trades, like you were talking about, we have, if for our particular high school in our district, we do have a lot of opportunities for trade exposure, culinary and welding, and just there are a lot of opportunities in our high school, but it's not until the high school. You know, why don't we have these beginning level exposures to these things that are age appropriate all the way down to elementary school to give them a taste of what they may have the opportunity to get into when they are in high school?
Right. I mean, for us to be the superpower, um, I think we're starting to depend on artificial intelligence to get us up out of any future issues. Granted, there might be more things for IA or AI to um, make better informed judgments, but those can be manipulated.
Hmm.
So for me, it's just crazy that I mean, the fact that we are moving in a technological future, you would think that there would be not Chromebooks, but real computers at every desk now. We should eliminate textbooks because that's so old method when we have all these accesses to us. We now don't need to spend money on books. We can spend them on uh, computers for every classroom, for every student. When they walk into a classroom, all they got to do is log on to their computer, put in their thing, and they get a server space for them to house all their um, school stuff, and give them a Chromebook or a laptop or at least give them the access if they have those things at home. And um, that budget that we spend on all those workbooks and that we're just throwing away year after year, now we can start letting the electronics take care of itself, and maybe evolve with the time.
No,
Carrying
I agree.
these kids are breaking their backs carrying 50 books in their backpack at 8 years old, and I'm looking at them going, damn, all this.
Well, and I know for with COVID, that was one of the things that came up. When our kids went to CDL, they have all had iPads. Different districts do different things. I know our district, every student has an iPad. My son has his through the summer. They send them home with them through the summer, and they have access to a lot of the the materials that they have for school. The thing, it's kind of a catch 22. I don't know. I mean, I do think that there's a lot of good with it, but I think that there's something to be said for textbooks too. And maybe part of that is just because I'm old school when it comes to some things. And then just it's all about the heart and intent of technology, because unfortunately, with as quickly as we are changing definitions, that, like when you talk about the AIs, it's as quick as running a program that can totally change history. And so what you are reading, in this day and age of misinformation, where is the source? Like, how we need to get to an unbiased source of information that really can give you the facts.
The problem with
um,
that concept is we can go all the way back to the Bible and find discrepancies because there's so many different versions of the Bible, and it's based on interpretation by different individuals. So either way, there's room for it, and even more so because now it's in writing and it can't be changed. And if we're forced to use those materials, then after it's fact checked down the line, there's no change that could be made except with hoping that the instructor of the class um, lets all the students know, oh, by the way, this has been fact checked to be false.
right,
And they didn't want to replace all the textbooks across the board because of one paragraph in a book. So
right,
it would be easier to do it. I mean, we could still keep it, maybe every school has one version of the hard copy, so we can reference it to say, oh, no, it's somebody hacked it, and this is not what it says. And then
right.
the rest be, but I'm just saying, for the fact that we won't have to replace them as much, and I just feel that it could be, um, the money can work better for us down the line now that we have the technology to do it. Before, when they first started teaching, we had to, stone and hammer and chisel to write our answers. And then over time we evolved to papers and pencils, and it just evolved. So I just think we should still continue to evolve. Just an idea. I mean, not
No,
saying
I
that
agree.
we will, but
No, there's a lot of truth to what you say, and I agree with a lot of it. There's things that we aren't doing, or at least not consistently. I haven't seen it even in our district. In this day and age of technology, why aren't we teaching typing skills at the elementary level? There's an app or program called Typetastic where your kid, it just starts having their fingers on the appropriate home key, and where they're just like using one finger to shoot at something, to just get them forming those habits of being able to type. And so, in this day and age of where we are with technology, and the fact that we are a little archaic in some of the things that we do, that we're not even teaching our children typing. Even the dual language thing, there's extra money that gets separated out for those that have English as their second language. And in this day and age, I've even contemplated, we know how quickly children absorb and learn are we to a point with language that maybe it would make sense for them to learn Spanish and English at the elementary level and give them that advantage, as much as we have multiple groups of people and communities and immigrants and stuff like that coming in. I hear the people that are like, well, it's America, you should learn, English and know English. And that's all well and great, but there's not a disadvantage to learning a multiple language. I mean, I think that there's actually some benefits when
The
children have dual languages.
Now, I can agree and disagree with that statement. My opinion of it is, why Spanish when there's, we have Chinatowns everywhere, and then it would get down to why Spanish opposed to not Chinese, opposed to not Korean, opposed to not Japanese, opposed to why are we only
It
teaching
depends
them?
on the area that you live in.
Right, right,
I mean,
right.
that's one of
But
the
if
things from a district.
I think that and I'm bilingual. My
I'm
first
not.
language, my first language was Korean,
Uh-huh.
and that was just because my mother's Korean and she talked to me in her native tongue. So I'm not opposed to necessarily having classes when kids are younger, but I think that there's so many other basic curriculum things that we're, as a nation, we're already failing in. Why make things even harder when we should just keep it to the basics in the elementary school? Maybe it's a double sided. Let me finish the thought first. Maybe in junior high school, started adding it would be a good thing. But I do know that when I was a kid, and I mean like growing up, like first starting to talk, it was so much easier for me to learn Korean because I was still learning language. Um, so I could see where the advantages would be, but because maybe if the school system created the curriculum better, because I know in some of these countries where the children are uh academic academically better than American kids, is because their school ethic is so much different. They go to school a little bit longer, and in some cases, go to school an extra day. Because I know in Korea, they were going to school on Saturdays. And I know
Oh,
our kids are looking like, oh, well, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. But you know what? If you get it all out the way and you have a better life when you're older, I know that most older kids who had stern parents, I'm not talking about abusive, but I'm talking about stern parents that kept you organized. When you got of adult age, you appreciated your parents more, opposed to those kids that were like, my parents let me do everything I want. And now that I'm older, I blame them for the me being such a F up. And I'm
right.
like, okay. So that's why I say at some point, where does accountability come in? So I don't know. Yes, I can agree that multiple languages should be offered, especially at the fact that America is such a variety of nationality and races. Um, Teaching based on region. What if I was in a region where it was all Spanish people, but I want to move to a place where they're all Ukrainian people and I want to be able to live with them, but you're teaching me Spanish. And when I move over there, I'm gonna have to learn that language as well. So it kind of comes down to, I mean, and we can't obviously put uh, every different style of language, even if it's the top 5 major languages in every single school. It would just be too hard. That's why I think that the universal language of English, because almost every country somebody tries to speak English, but not in every country does somebody try to speak the other country languages.
Hmm.
So it being the universal language, I can see why. Maybe it should be a requirement before kids are allowed to even come into the school that they be, maybe those children should be taught English and pushed harder to learn English, because the excuse of not being able to know our laws is like they say, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. If you don't know the law and you commit a crime, you still are going to get punished. So if we don't teach even foreigners who come to our country our vocabulary, then we're already setting them up to be more criminal minded, because they're going to have to learn a hustle mentality.
Well, and I beg to differ in some areas because, and I don't, this is just with no insight whatsoever, but it seems that when people come into this country legally and the requirements that they have to go through in order to do that, you could probably put them against the average, US born citizen, and they would probably know our laws better than our own,
Oh, I could believe that. I
which
believe
is
that.
very unfortunate that, we don't even the standard that we would expect for somebody coming outside of our country into our country to have more knowledge than we are actually teaching our own.
Um, I think that's a lot to do with the fact that in other countries, it almost seems like they preach, you want to go to America, go to America. When you go to America, you have the greatest life. And that's inter- a matter of interpretation.
Yeah.
I can say that when I was in Korea, even right now, if I was to go to Korea right now, I could probably get a job um, making $1,000 a week just talking English, just teaching. And I'm not even teaching it, I'm just conversating with people. They pay you just to talk English to them in Korea. And I could live a very comfortable life out there. But as being AG the dad title, I have obligations here in the United States that prevent me from exploring all my dreams and fantasies. But hey, that's what we call responsibility. So I don't know.
Here's another topic for school. The cafeteria food. I know we're doing we've done some surveys with our kids about our cafeteria food, and there's always the cafeteria food is horrible and this kind of thing. And so we did a survey with our students, and it was one of those, like, the top three foods, and the for best and worst were pretty much the same. They all had to do with cheese, nachos, pizza, that kind of thing. It's just like, if we master pizza, I think all of the kids will be happy. But
Um, mm-mm. Let
no,
me.
no.
Well, I did not know I was lactose intolerant until
Oh,
like into my high school days. So when I had lunch and it was pizza day, and I'm not gonna say pizza was bad. It was actually not too bad, at least the schools I went to. So
yeah.
I would eat it, and then the rest of my day, I was going to the bathroom every class. And my
Oh,
teachers were like, this is a problem. You're BSing. And I was like, no, my stomach hurts. And I never understood why. So uh, just like they take the time out to understand there is peanut allergies,
right.
there's other allergies that, I mean, if people can sue because of peanut allergies, I feel like I should have been suing the school right now for my lactose intolerancy, because I suffered going through school. You know what? I'm about to see if there's a statute of limitations on that. I know I'm out of school a very long time, but I'm going back to all my schools who serve.
Well, when we go to the bathroom, because the whole, what's in the bathroom and what shouldn't be in the bathroom. Constipation in our kids is a significant issue with school. I mean, I know even my son, and I don't remember when I started having this conversation, but kids don't like to go to the bathroom in school with
You
all
know
the
why?
multiple stalls and stuff like that.
It's the pee
And
all over the
tiny,
toilets. Can parents teach their kids, male kids, how to pee? Lift the toilet, pee into the water. Not all over the rim, not all over the seat, not all over the base of the
yes,
toilet.
you-
Okay,
right.
not behind the toilet because you miss. And by the way, boys and girls, well, mostly boys. Matter of fact, yeah, I would say 99% boys. If you pee on the rim, there's a
Wipe it.
thing on the side. Grab the toilet paper, wipe it down. I mean, it's not necessarily the cleanest way, but
Right,
at
right.
least it's cleaner than it just sitting there and just the next person sitting on it. Because as a person who likes to go shit talking Sundays, I'm gonna tell you, um, I don't like sitting on a wet toilet. And the fact that
No.
I got kids, I get it. I get why women are mad at men about it. So I try to consciously either put all the toilet seats up and leave them up, or I put them all down and leave them all down so that we all got to do some type of work at some point. So if my significant other leaves the toilet seat down, when I come in, I leave it up. And that way I know that if my sons come in, all right, I've already pre-gamed you for hit the target. It's a very large target. You got
Which
this.
still is very confusing to me as to with such a large target. I don't understand how you miss so often.
Um, you know, I'm
It's
gonna
like, are
say
we
it like this.
daydreaming in
No,
there?
it's different pressures when we have to go to the bathroom. It just depends on how long we've waited. If we're last minute peers and we run in there last minute zipping our pants down doing the pee pee dance like, oh, I gotta go, and then we take it out and boom and we pee. That's usually when it just shoots out and you don't have control of it. Just oh my god, and it's all over the place. But if you're not waiting to the last minute and it just you're standing over it and then you pee, usually it's a straight shot. So, you know,
So don't wait for the bathroom.
look, fellas, if you really got to go real bad, push. If you're a little, push it down and or lean forward, and it'll shoot straight in. Okay.
Maybe we need a diagram in the
You know,
bathrooms.
hey, maybe we need to do a podcast on just peeing. I mean, all right. So is it wrong or is it this is a good segue. Would it be uh, gay, I guess, um, for boys to sit when they piss?
I would encourage it.
You would
Why?
encourage
Well, who
boys?
deemed who see this is the thing. Like, who are these people, the others? Who are the people that deemed that you must stand as a male to pee? It's just like there's even things like, do you know about where your feet should be placed when you're actually having a bowel movement? Like your
No, it's
feet
supposed to
are
be elevated.
they're supposed to be elevated, but a lot of people don't even realize that. And it's just like we're not even positioned properly for how our body, I mean, think about pre-toilet days, how your body would be positioned to go to the bathroom is probably the most accurate position you should be in to be able to go to the bathroom. And yet, we have this great invention that made things a lot easier and cleaner, but at the same time, it's not probably the most anatomically proper way to go. And so there's all these things that it's just like, why do we have these written and unwritten rules that everybody decides that this is the way it is if it's not working?
Right. Uh, you know, I, I don't know. Just like the pink thing, real
Oh,
men, you know,
mhm.
don't wear pink, or is it real men wear pink or whatever? It's a
Yeah.
color. Um, a good friend of mine, um, we were having a conversation about Crips and Bloods, and I was like, "Why would you? What made you choose um, one color over the other. And he said, I like, I blue has always been for boys and pink has always been for girls. And I felt that red was closer to a girl's color. So I went with the boys' color, which is blue. So for me, when I look at it, I'm like, man, man, interpreted many different ways. Um, I personally, I don't care what somebody thinks. As long as who I'm with is happy with me, I don't care. I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna do whatever I want to do every time I do what I do. Um, and that's how people should look at life. Um, this the LGBTQ community, I respect what they're doing. I don't have to agree with um, their lifestyle. I'm not against it, but I don't necessarily want to. I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the lifestyle that I would choose to want to live day to day. If somebody invited me to a party and it was all LGBTQ people, I would hang out. I'd be very respectful, and I would have a great time and hang out because I'm not homophobic. Um, and I would be respectful to the level of the respect that was given to me.
That is
Part of
so key. That what
because
you said
I mean, think
right
about it.
there.
There are people out there that are, um, I hope saying gay is the proper terminology, that are very aggressive.
Hmm.
Um, and when they don't take no for an answer, why is it an issue if somebody defends themselves? I
Hmm.
understand because there's bullying on both sides when it comes to being
Hmm.
and doing things like that. So for me, look, I guess as far as taking a stand, I believe everybody is entitled to do whatever they want to as long as you're not harming somebody else
Right.
and not forcing your views or opinions on somebody else. Hey, do you, player?
Right.
But when you tell me I have to conform to your ways and also allow you to educate my children on your views, that's when the separation of church and state have crossed lines.
Hmm.
Because my views may not be somebody else's views, and your views may not be somebody else's views, or my
Hmm.
views for that matter. So we have to stop allowing the school system to dictate what we will, won't, can, should, all that. Keep to the
Yep.
basics, educate our children with basic uh, English,
Reading,
mathematics,
writing, math. Yeah.
physical fitness, all those. Leave all the rest to the other people, to the parents. As far as the bullying, look, if we go back to the basics of how schools were created back in the day, where the principal had the corporal punishment right, man, there was a whole lot of well-disciplined children. Now, with that being also said, there were also a lot of principals out there that were abusing their
Right.
authority. And fortunately for us, if we went back to those days, we have cameras.
Right.
And if you abuse our children now, man, there will be shit talking Sundays to pay. So,
Hmm.
for me, maybe we should allow the power of discipline back to the principal again and just increase cameras on the schools with the exception of bathrooms. And that way we have 100% accountability for both individuals, the
Well, and
children and the
yeah,
and the
that's
teachers.
just it. The accountability is gone. And this whole idea that we are not making our children accountable for their actions or telling them to stop doing, like, don't do this, don't do that. And then they just keep doing it. You can't have zero consequences and expect change to happen. It's not going to happen. And so, we have teachers that are dealing with very disrespectful children, and behaviors that are unacceptable. And we have to stop allowing those behaviors. This whole idea of everybody has a right to a free, equal public education, I 100% agree with that, but I do not agree that that comes at whatever cost, regarding behavior or disrespect. It's just like everyone should have equal access, but if you are not behaving in a reasonable way, or you're acting out, or you're potentially harming others, you do not belong in that environment, because you are a distraction and you are taking away from others.
And you know what? I agree. And I figure like this. Okay, you want to be that student? Okay. I guess we need to put you in a school that has a little bit more disciplinary, um what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences.
Mhm.
If you want to be that kid that wants to be at school, get into fights, start fights, just talk back, do all that. Okay, so we'll put you in another school. And when we have juvenile hall kids, they go to a school, they get educated in school, and they're not having the problems that teachers are having. So why is it that we can't figure it out?
Mhm.
You got all It's almost as if the school system benefits from having chaos, because maybe once again it comes to the thing that I talked about. If everybody was the haves and we had very little have nots, who's going to do all the physical labor to make sure that all the haves keep having?
Mhm.
There has to be less fortunate, because if they don't have less fortunate, then we're all going to be less fortunate, because we're going to have to be accountable for ourselves. We're going to have to cook, clean, grow our own foods, raise our own cattle, all this, because nobody else is going to want to do it. And it's going to have to give everybody a happy medium. I mean, that's the extreme, but that's probably part of the reason why the 2% wants to stay the 2%. Because if it's now the 10%, then how much less amenities are they going to have, because the 90% have to do all the work, and out of the 90%, only probably 20% of them are even want to work. So I mean,
The reality of it is, though, is that it's such a scam to convince people that it can only be 2%. This whole idea of this victim mentality and keeping people down, and that, oh, it's the rich. There's so much that goes into this, that is way bigger, and it's always the middle class that ends up seemingly getting the short end of the stick when it comes to all of this, because you're rich are just going to be rich. And there's those that weren't meant to be. I mean, you see those people, like even people that have won lotteries or something like that. It's different. I mean, if you're just given money,
mhm,
that doesn't guarantee that you are going to stay rich. People
right.
can be, they can be as wasteful no matter what. But this whole idea that you can't do something in life, and happiness doesn't revolve around money. There's so much more it's like, yes, it's like as much money as you could spend, I'm sure we could figure out ways to be happy with it. But
Yeah,
the
I was
reality of
just
it is,
mhm.
you have so many people that are very successful, or they have a lot of money and they are miserable. That says something.
That
It's
says they do not know how to spend their money. Because let me tell you, if anybody wants to test that theory, I welcome any filthy rich person to just throw money at me. If you throw money at AG the dad, I will show you how a person can be happy. if I just had endless money, I will be so happy that everybody around me will be happy. There could be nobody sad if I had some of these people who
But
have
that has to do with you being happy to begin with. I guess it's more along the lines of money. If
mindset.
you're miserable, money isn't going to make you any better.
I
Like
don't
if you're
know.
just a miserable human being,
I've been
money isn't going
miserable,
to fix that.
but you know what? I've been miserable because I didn't have money, and when I did have money, I was like, oh, I'm not miserable no more. So as far as I'm concerned, and you know what? I think that's the ability or your background. I came from poor. You know, my mom came from a third world country where there was no running water. They were still shitting, talking Sundays over a hole in the ground and taking showers from well water in the middle of winter when it's ice cold, having to uh, boil your water over a fire to take your bath every day that you wanted to bathe. So I think humble pie
Yeah.
and growing up allows you to enjoy life more. When you're born into money, you don't appreciate money. So that's why they say money don't buy happiness, because you came from it. If you came from money, yes, money doesn't keep you happy if you're not a happy individual. But if you've never had it, man, even those lottery winners, when they hit the lottery, they're happy as hell until they run out of it. And then they're back to being miserable because they didn't know how to, they weren't educated properly, once again, in our school system to make sure that we knew how to, or people know how to take care of their finances. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, you know. The better you educate people and prepare them for life, the better citizens will be. The more you take away from them, the less and the more hardcore people we're going to have on the street that's going to be out there that we have to worry about. But like they say, the penal system was not created for loss. It was created for profit. So the more people that they can keep in the jail system, the more money that they can make, the more money that they can um, use very reduced labor pay for services. So, I mean, there's so
Well,
many
if
different.
that's the case, why are they shutting so many of them down?
Um, I mean, without having the statistics in front of me, I couldn't tell you the reasons, but I can say that for every one that's probably getting shut down, there's one that's getting built someplace else, or they're enlarging another facility or moving in them and overcrowding. Because if you think about it, our prison systems, they're overcrowded in a lot of them. So the fact that they're shutting them down, I don't know, but I do know that for every inmate, they're getting tens of thousands of dollars for every inmate from our taxes. And I mean, last time I checked, when you're feeding people on a buffet schedule, it's not taking kind of the kind of money that they have, especially the medical system. Those are doctors paid by the state funds or taxpayer dollars. The dental system paid by taxpayer dollars. So technically, we're not paying for their medical the same way we're paying for medical for everybody else on the street, because it's all self-contained to a certain degree. But why I don't see where all this money that they're getting is, because it's not going to all the inmates. Inmates that we talk to are saying that the money it's not being spent on them. And matter of fact, that's another good segue. I am getting ready to do a podcast called CDC Inmate J98542, 25 years, told by Kane. It's going to be a story of a friend of mine. Well, I went to school with him, and he did, I want to say, 25 years in prison. And we're going to talk about his life going through the prison system. So we're going to touch on this. I'm going to ask him about, these are questions that, I'm going to ask and try to find out, because what could have changed to prevent him from being in the system?
Right.
Was he bored? Was he neglected? Was he abused? There's so many different things, because just like, I know people say I kind of go all over the place, but it's kind of where the conversation leads. Right now in the news, former President Trump, he got raided, and everybody came out that we definitely don't, that they're being raided and it's unfair, unjust. It should have been announced and all that. Hey, look, last time I checked, when they go in to raid anybody, drug dealer's house or whatever, they don't send you a memo ahead of time that on this day we're coming and we're gonna raid you. They come in and do it. So for everybody to say all this, man, grow up. Okay, privilege doesn't extend out to everybody like that. I'm actually happy that finally somebody's getting treated that's, I guess, elite, similar to the other people on the street. But now we see the complaining and everybody come.
That goes back to one of those unwritten rules. I think the big hubbub is more along the lines that they've never done this to presidents that have done exceedingly worse things,
right,
than what is going on in this situation. And so it's just like, why all of a sudden? But I think it's one of those where it's a can of worms that is being opened, because now that it has been done, don't think it's not going to continue to happen.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I think this was great.
That's who's on deck with that.
Yeah.
Case.
Yeah. You're breaking up a little bit, but I think it's really a great thing that we did that, because if now we're going to hold everybody accountable. Now Congress is going to do their job. They're going to do their job. They're going to hold people accountable. And I still go back to the thing of where I say that Congress should have term limits. There should not be 20 and 30-year congressmen in there, because they're not evolving with the time. They're, if anything, rooting themselves even deeper in the corporate greed that's in there. So yeah. But look, we're getting close to that time. We need to. I think we'll carry this on till next week, and hopefully next week we'll have even more news for everybody to be excited about. And we really didn't even touch on some of the things we wanted to touch today, but we will next week. Yes. If you haven't liked, subscribe, hit that notification button. I don't know what's your problem, because I'm shit talking Sundays every day, because every day is shit talking Sundays. And where is it that there's a podcast that you can say shit talking Sundays so much and it not be offensive, except to those who think that profanity is offensive and a curse word, and it's not. A curse word is me wishing misfortune on you, and I do not wish misfortune on anybody, anything. I say, like I say to Sensible Chery, please have a blessed day, be blessed, and bless everybody around you if you can, because you never know what they're going through. Any final words you want to say before we go?
No, we're good. I'll see y'all next week.
Next week. Be blessed, sister cousin.
Have a great.
That's our little inside joke. Hey, everybody have a blessed day. I'm AG the Dad. Shit Talking Sundays with Sensible Chery. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button. As we grow, you grow. And the more we can get out to you, the more you can get out to them, because we all want to know who them and they are, and only you and they know. So if you're not confused, come on back next week, Monday, 9 a.m. We promise we will be here at 9 a.m. If not, her name is not who she says she is, and I'm not AG the Dad. So we will be here next weekend. So stay blessed. I'm AG the Dad. This is Shit Talking with Sensible Chery. We out. Peace.
Bye.
Sunday morning drama is calling up my mama.
Sunday morning drama.